and welcome back to A Brighter Day TV. My name's Michael Hurwitz, and I'm the Senior Executive Director of A Brighter Day. And today we're going to talk about teens and the COVID-19 pandemic. And today my guest is Elliot Kallen, the founder and president of A Brighter Day. Hello, Elliot.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. I wanted to not only welcome you today, but also wish you a happy Father's Day this Sunday, along with all the fathers that are out there. We wish you all the best. So thank you and happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. The same to you and your dad.
Thank you. Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Let's give it a shot. Okay. So today we're going to talk about teens and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, of which we're in the middle of right now. It's a very strange and unusual time for society. And teens are being affected maybe even more than others. So today I'd like to just open up a conversation with you about teens and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Does that seem okay?
Seems great.
So let's start off. This is in no particular order. And honestly, I don't think we're here to give actual answers to teens or parents about what to do, but actually just start a conversation. So let's go ahead and talk about a few things. Number one on my list was, let's talk about teens and school. How are they dealing with school when they're sheltered in place, having to do online lessons and other things that they're not used to? And maybe their grades are falling apart. Maybe that they're not hitting the expectations that their teachers and their parents have for them. What do you think about that subject?
So let's think about what's happened since March. And you and I are doing this when school is out for the summer. People will be watching this again in the fall. Since March, what we did is we forced everybody here to go inside. Everybody to stop socializing, stop being with your friends, don't even be with your family if they're not living in the same home. Don't see grandma and grandpa anymore. Don't see your aunt and your cousins. Just isolate yourself. And maybe you could see them a little bit on the walking paths while you're exercising, but even that might not be a good idea. So what this did, in effect, the side effect of isolation and the need to not spread the virus is it isolated us, and as humans, we do not react well to that. So as teens who are already suffering from social isolationism in so many ways, it made them more isolated. And so it exacerbated their problems. So if you've got stress and you've got depression as a teen and it's teeter-tottering, you now exacerbated that problem. And so we found with teen suicide, the numbers went up. Actually, with suicide all around the country, the numbers went up dramatically. Yeah. People don't like to be alone, Michael. And there's not much you could do about it. Teens, especially young adults, we want to be around other people. And I heard this story the other day where an 8-year-old had gone back to school. He hadn't seen his friends since March. And he went back and they had a play day finally at the school. The school let him do it. And they watched the kids and the interaction, and the kids started to hug and cry on each other's shoulders because they were so happy to see them and so sad that they hadn't seen them in now 2 months.
Right. Well, what do you think about how this is affecting their schoolwork and their grades?
Well, again, when you're not feeling good about yourself and good about life, and the world's a little darker than it used to be, you're not going to really care as much about your grades. You're just not going to do the same work. You're going to find distractions. Distractions for teenagers in our world are the TV, the computer, the cell phone, and a refrigerator. Kids simply did not put the same energy in. And I'm saying kids in a very broad sense because lots of kids did. But lots of teens said, no, I'm checking out. I don't do that much. And of course, parents they're working. They still have to work, many of them from home. So they were depending on their kids getting the work done or at-home homework that was now new to them.
On their own at this point, yeah.
Very hard. You're asking a lot from teens to do something that they're very unfamiliar with. And you're asking a lot for parents who are kind of done at the teaching world. They're letting their kids handle it. They're letting their teachers do that. They're letting their friends do that. Now they have to get re-involved, and a lot of them just couldn't do it.
Right. Well, it's a good subject for people to start thinking about and talking about with the teens, with their parents and their teachers and whatever family or friends they have. It's something that I don't think they're going to find an answer until they open the discussion. Yeah.
It's something that, I'm somebody who lost a son to suicide and was the last one to know that he was going to commit suicide. I think parents need to have that conversation at the kitchen table with their kids. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? Who are your friends? How are your friends doing? Because teenagers can very much be a product of their friendships and a sum of all their friends' feelings. So
And at this stage, also as a teen, I think they become more private. So you have to open that conversation. It's not one that's going to naturally just come up on its own.
sure, it's very easy for a teenager to retreat to the computer or the cell phone
Right.
or the video game. It doesn't really matter why. You're not finding more teens drinking. That's not the problem. You're not even finding more drugs going up in this world. That's not the problem right now during this lockdown. It's isolationism that's wiping kids out.
Yeah, I agree. Also, let's talk about communication skills. So we talked about, you know, they have to have this conversation, but do teens have good communication skills? And if not, what are the things that they could exercise to try and be better at?
So I raised two boys and a daughter. So I had my daughter that couldn't stop communicating because she wore every emotion on her sleeve. I had one son that would have a great conversation with you if you drew it out. And the other one kind of grunted. How's your day? Good. So I always kidded with him and stop answering me monosyllabically here. You know, you're going to school. Kids,
Use two words.
teenagers would prefer not to engage with their parents on these subjects. These are really tough subjects. How are you feeling? That question. The easiest answer is fine. Fine. The harder answer is, well, I'm not doing all that well at math, or Jimmy and I are fighting because Jimmy's been stuck inside and so am I, and they can't even come up with a reason, or, you know, it's a problem out there. So the more you can get that out in front of this, the more you can work with your team to solve those emotional issues. And these are challenges. It doesn't make a teenager sick or it makes the situation sad, but we have to deal with it because otherwise depression will set in and it could become something that none of us want to deal with down the road.
Yeah, I agree. So you brought up the subject about social media, whether it be video games or online social media or other things like that. I know that this subject has come up in the past about teens are using social media too much in normal life. And now with the COVID-19 pandemic, it might be all their life. In other words, they're doing it 24/7. So what are your thoughts about that? And maybe how do we get them to find other outlets?
You know, it's funny. I don't know a parent that takes their cell phone away from their teens. I wasn't one of them either. It's hard to do that. They live on that cell phone. They communicate in every possible way on that cell phone.
Yeah.
And the video games are a distraction. And of course, the video game competes with exercise. So the more video games you're on, the less exercise your team will do. But the cell phone is 24/7. You can't get away from your text, from your Instagram, from your chats, from the different programs that are out there that are designed for teens. But those are taking time away from what teens can be doing that's healthier. If you look at Facebook, and I know teens don't use it, but Instagram is related to Facebook here. For most people, it's a highlight reel of their life. What did we do today, Michael? Well, we did this and we did that, and it was fun. And we post the 7 fun things or 7 fun pictures that we did today. And the other teen that didn't have such a great day or isn't feeling so good looked at that, and now you've exacerbated the problem because everybody's having fun, but that particular teen.
Yeah.
It makes them feel lonelier and more isolated. And I think of isolation, it's kind of a black hole. The edges are black, the room's not black, but little by little, if you leave that unnurtured, the whole room will turn black.
Yeah. It closes in.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things that I've found very useful for myself, and maybe some parents or teens could try this, and that is we tend to have the phone on 24/7, literally turned on. Give yourself a break. In other words, say to yourself, from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock today, I'm literally, not figuratively, literally going to turn the cell phone off. And you would be amazed at how many times you don't grab it just to check things when it's turned off, right? So the act of actually physically turning it off for a period of time will prevent you from abuse on that device. And it could be a way to help yourself. So something to think about.
I've talked to families that have really struggled with just making dinner a cell phone free dinner. And it's a struggle.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful tool right now. They live on that. Again, I remember my teen, when they were teens, if they got a text at 2 a.m. because one of their friends wouldn't sleep, they got up and they started back and forth, back and forth.
I get it. You brought up not enough exercise. What are the things you think young people could do, given that they're sheltered in place? Maybe their parents are letting them go for a walk around the block, or maybe they're not. What are some of the things they could do to get some exercise done?
Sure. So, everybody knows that teenagers are not exercising like they did a generation ago, which was less than a generation before that, which was probably less than a generation before that.
Sure.
So it's the video. In the 1950s and 60s and 70s, it was the television that was slowing them down. The complaint in the 20s and 30s was the radio. We always have a new technology that's taking our teens out of exercise. That's just how it is in our country. We'll have something else in the next generation. But walking around, teens don't get excited about walking. They get excited about social interaction, biking with their friends, running with their friends, hiking with their friends.
Sure.
Walking downtown with their friends. You've got to get them in a social world. Even if they have a mask and they're a few feet apart, you've got to get them together with their friends. It's great if you're a parent and you're spending a lot of time with your teens. It's fabulous that you're doing that. And maybe you're biking and hiking and walking with them. But get them to do that with their friends. Their best friends can be are tremendous influencers on them. So if their best friends are in a better place, so are your children.
So one of the things that we could combine the use of technology and social media and exercise together, a great example is some of the things that my wife is doing. And she gets on FaceTime video on her iPad with her mother, who is about to be 90 years old. And she'll do an exercise program for 30 minutes with her. Or she will get on a FaceTime video in the evening with our granddaughters. We have twin granddaughters. And she'll get on them and she'll do an exercise video with them. And they're doing jumping jacks and all kinds of fun things. And they're laughing at each other. We accomplish two things. We accomplish the social interaction without actually being there with each other. And we get some exercise. I think this is a great thing that teens could get a group of like 5 or 6 of their friends together and say, this Saturday at 1 o'clock, let's all get on a FaceTime video and challenge each other. Who can do the most push-ups, sit-ups, jumping, whatever, I think we could combine some of the things that they want to do with some of the things that we know would be best for them all.
Those are great ideas. I think you can get teens to do that. A parent may have to be the driver to make that happen. It won't be easy because our teens did not learn how to do unorganized activities. Everything in their world has been organized. Soccer, t-ball, baseball. We grew up and every basketball court on a weekend was filled.
Right. Sure.
Today, there's not a school court you go by that has a person on there.
I can remember being a young boy and, it's summer vacation and school's out and what the heck are you going to do? Well, you get up in the morning and you head to the local school because they had a rec department. And in the morning, they would do some things together like, some teaching you how to weave a keychain, or you'd play chess or caroms with somebody, and you'd do that for an hour or two, and then you'd head out to the field with a bunch of guys and you'd go play baseball, right? So we would naturally have activities to go do. This is a pandemic. We can't do that right now, but some of the things we can do, I think we should really push that envelope to try and do that today.
Absolutely. You're right on track.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about an individual teen's personal motivation, personal growth. That's a kind of a touchy subject. And right now in a pandemic, you might be feeling kind of blue and withdrawn. So let's kind of combine social withdrawal with personal motivation and personal growth. What do you think about that subject?
Sure. Personal motivation is a very complicated subject, even for adults. And I just had somebody in my office this morning, and I gave him a book about personal motivation, and that doesn't mean he's even going to open it. But it's hard. We all know as adults that you've got to motivate yourself, whether it be to lose weight, to exercise, to do better at work, to look for a new job, go back to college, go back and get a master's degree, whatever it might be. It takes some form of motivation to do it. For teens, they don't have these tools. For you and I, we understand these tools, but they don't have them. So you as a parent can help your children by bringing these tools to them on motivation. Motivation can be like, let's just get out of the house today. Let's just go down to Briones Park and let's hike this mountaintop. Let's climb this baby and let's get to the top. Let's go down and get your friends together. Let's do this and we'll meet, and socially distant wise, we'll buy ice cream and make it a fun time where you guys can eat ice cream outside. There are ways to motivate your children to get out of the house. And that's the key. Get out of your current environment, because fresh air and doing something is going to make teens feel less isolated. And in a pandemic world, isolation is terrible.
Yeah. And, before you have motivation, you have to have a goal. So setting some goals, and they can be simple. They don't have to be complex or hard goals. The goal might be, I've never walked all the way around the Lafayette Reservoir, and it's X miles long. My goal is to make it around the reservoir. You know what I'm saying? Set a goal, and then the motivation is to reach that goal. So there is a process.
Right. And that's where a parent can really help a teenager, because parents understand, or many parents understand, the need for goals, the need for getting out of the house, the need for some form of motivation. They can work with them. It takes effort. It's just not as easy as it once was. It does take effort.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, that's kind of it for me today. Did you have any questions before we button up?
No, that's great. Let's keep helping our teens put one foot in front of the other and do better tomorrow than they did today.
Great. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you, Michael.
My name's Michael Hurwitz, and again for A Brighter Day TV, thank you for joining us, and stay in touch. We're going to have another episode soon.